Destiny by Design, the fourth book in the Champion Chocolatier series, a first chapter read aloud and behind the scenes sneak peek with author Amanda Zieba. Hi, my name's Amanda Zieba. Welcome to my channel, Learning with the Word Nerd. Today I want to talk to you about and read to you from Destiny by Design. It is the fourth book in the Champion Chocolatier series. If you are just finding this video and this book, go back to the very beginning. You got to figure out how Emmy and Eddie's story starts before you can read this one. I will confess that this book is almost purely the result of watching too much HGTV. I had to do something with all of that interior design knowledge, and this book is the result. I'm going to read you the back so you know what it's about, and then I will read you chapter 1. Emmy Edwards is a magnet for competition. If there's a contest within reach, she's going to find it and enter. Whether it's winning a chocolate shop, a reality cooking competition, or the heart of the cute guy who owns the store next door, Emmy wants a piece of the action. She's promised her new husband Eddie that the Golden Honeymoon Giveaway would be her last competition, but keeping that promise turns out to be harder than she thought. When their new business venture, renovating a vacant waterfront warehouse into a boutique hotel, has an opportunity to compete in an interior design challenge, Emmy finds herself back in the contest ring. In this fourth installment of the Champion Chocolatier series, readers will find everything they've come to expect of author Amanda Zieba. That's me. A lighthearted read about an idyllic contest, imaginative competition challenges, and larger-than-life contestant personalities. From coast to coast and pillar to post, Destiny by Design will give readers a front-row seat to Emmy's latest competitive adventure, including all the delicious twists and divine turns. Let's find out what happens. April, Chapter 1. Emmy took a sip of her latte and immediately spit it back into the cup. Hot, she said, fanning her mouth. She'd been too greedy for the life-fueling caffeine. Now she'd have to suffer the consequences of her rushed actions for 2 days. Maybe 3. She glared at the molten liquid furiously. What had once appeared as an Instagram-worthy latte now looked like a wolf disguised in sheep's clothing. So much for saving money by making fancy coffee at home. It wasn't worth it if she managed to burn off all her taste buds in the process. Emmy walked to the freezer and grabbed 2 ice cubes. She plopped one into the cup and the other into her injured mouth. The espresso machine they'd used the bulk of their wedding gift cards to purchase still confused her. At first, she'd thought the dispensed liquid wasn't hot enough, so by following instructions via a YouTube video, she'd attempted to adjust the heat gauge on the milk steamer. Apparently, she now had inadvertently set the device to produce beverages with heat comparable to lava. Unfortunately, it wasn't the only wedding present eluding her control. Spread out across the living room table were dozens of inspiration photos. It looked like her Pinterest board had thrown up all of the ideas she'd gathered for their future hotel. Images of lush 4-poster beds lay next to sparse modern room arrangements alongside treehouse jungle-styled huts. Photos she had taken of rooms during her time at the Biltmore for the Valentine's Day candy-making competition were situated next to those she printed of the suite they had stayed in during their honeymoon cruise through Ha Long Bay in Vietnam. They were all beautiful. Each space had its own unique and gorgeous qualities. But that wasn't the problem. The problem was Emmy couldn't decide which style she wanted to choose for her hotel. Actually, it was hers and Eddie's, but lately they'd been living like ships crossing in the night, and it was hard to imagine they shared anything when they barely shared waking hours. While winter was typically a slower season for Emmy and Sweet Shore's chocolate store, it was super busy for Eddie. Winter sports reigned as royalty in Duluth, skiing, both downhill and cross-country, snowshoeing, ice fishing. If it was fun and could be done outside, Eddie had the clothing and the equipment to make it happen, which made him and his store pretty darn popular. In addition to the busyness of the season, Eddie had been lured into an assistant coaching job for the local college hockey team. It was a ton of time for a little bit of money, but Eddie loved it, and Emmy loved him, so they made it work. When the Duluth Bulldogs season officially ended last week with a loss to North Dakota State in the semifinals of the NCAA Frozen Four tournament, Eddie was devastated. Emmy wasn't all that sad. She joked with a moping Eddie that in an attempt to cheer him up. "Don't be so sad. Now that hockey's over, it's Emmy season." To which Eddie responded, "Good, time to crash you into the boards," as he threw her onto the bed. "Penalty," Emmy had squealed. 2 minutes. "For what?" Eddie had asked, still playing the role of an enraged hockey player. Excessive force?" "Wrong sport," Eddie said and continued to attack, this time her ribs with tickling fingers. Not only had it been great to see Eddie more, but it had also been a comfort to fall back into a routine of normal, consistent dinner times, evening TV, and weekends that did not involve 30 additional men. It was lovely. The changing of the seasons had actually been the catalyst that reminded her of the hotel in the first place. Emmy had let Eddie mope for 1 week after their heartbreaking hockey loss before she decided that working together on the hotel would be the perfect thing to pull him out of his post-season slump. When they'd gone to file their taxes in February, their business manager, Al, had brought up the property. But Eddie was in season and Emmy didn't want to do this alone. At that time, they'd filled out the loan paperwork so they'd have money for the renovations, but their momentum stopped there. There always seemed to be an excuse or a reason to wait. Emmy was ready to put an end to that, and she thought that the reintroduction of their first joint business venture would go better if she could come with a narrowed selection of options and ideas. She took another sip of her no longer boiling latte and looked at the inspiration photos. They'd owned the building for 6 months now and done nothing more than pay the mortgage. When they first returned from the honeymoon, the work they'd been putting off during their trip, not to mention the days leading up to the wedding, demanded their attention. Such is the life of an entrepreneur. The work doesn't wait just because you are your own boss. Once they dug out of that hole, the North Shore winter temperature shut down any ideas of construction work. And then the not thinking about it just became a habit, until they'd almost forgotten about it completely. For a brief time, she had entertained branding the hotel as a combination of their two current stores, a kitschy North Shore outdoors-inspired getaway. All dark wood, gigantic stone fireplaces, and historic relics repurposed as decor. Emmy picked up a photo of the Spear Mountain ski chalet as it appeared the day it opened in 1974. While the high ceilings and exposed beams looked grand and felt nostalgic, it wouldn't be providing a getaway at all. It would be a cookie-cutter addition to an already saturated tourist market. Emmy wanted to do something different. She set the photo of the lodge aside and picked up one from their honeymoon, but shook her head, dismissing the style of the ancient Orient almost immediately. Before she could reach out for the next photo, her phone rang. Emmy looked at the screen and then swiped the icon to accept the call. "Morning, Mom." "Good morning, Emmy. What are you doing up so bright and early? Isn't it like 7 a.m. in Arizona?" "Just getting ready to do a little shopping. I'm meeting your Aunt Julie for breakfast, and then we're going to this new baby boutique in Scottsdale. A niece on her other side has a shower next week, and she's hoping to find something none of the other aunties will bring." "That sounds like Aunt Julie," Emmy said, leaning over the pictures on the table and continuing her examination. "You wouldn't, Emmy's mother paused, and Emmy instinctively knew what was coming next. She slumped back against the couch. Need me to pick up anything there for you?" The question hung between them, trapped in the static space where their mother-daughter relationship overlapped. Inside Emmy's skull, several thoughts fired simultaneously. We've only been married 6 months. I still have things I want to do before becoming a mother. For the past 3 of those months, I've hardly seen Eddie long enough to eat a meal before he collapses into a deep sleep, let alone have a serious conversation about adding a child to our chaotic lives. But what she said was, "Nope, I'm good, Mom." To her mother's credit, she tried not to sound disappointed, and to Emmy's credit, she didn't hold her mother's hopes for a grandchild against her. Emmy was glad this was a good old-fashioned phone call, so she didn't have to go through the effort of arranging her facial features to match the light tone she'd been able to fake. "Actually," Emmy began, "I haven't bought my business partner Rachel anything yet. She's due in like 2 months. Would you take a peek around for something a brand new mama might need?" "I'd love to," Susan said. And then, "What are you up to today?" At this, Emmy did sigh. "I'm closing the store tonight, but I have the morning off. I'm trying to narrow down the options for hotel aesthetics." "Where are you?" Susan asked. "At the apartment." "Well, there's your first problem," Susan said matter-of-factly. Emmy could hear her mother grabbing her keys and making her way to the condo's carport. "You've been to that warehouse, like what, twice?" "Actually, only once," Emmy confirmed, "on the day of her wedding." "And you think that single visit is enough to make this big decision? Don't be silly, Emmy." Emmy shook her head and smiled. "You're totally right, Mom." "Of course I am, darling." She was in her car now, the keys in the ignition, and the dinging seatbelt reminder audible through the phone. "I have to go now. I never talk and drive. I'll call you tomorrow and tell you all about the boutique." "Okay, Mom," Emmy said, and was unable to resist the urge to roll her eyes. Once her mother ended the call, Emmy checked the time. She had 3 hours before she needed to be at work. Plenty of time to shower, head over to the hotel property, and take a look around. Emmy swept the photos into a pile and stood with her now lukewarm latte. Already she felt better about the direction of the project. Maybe by the time she saw Eddie tonight, she'd have some solid ideas to share. And if you want to find out how they do end up decorating the hotel and what contests they get themselves into, definitely pick up a copy of Destiny by Design. It's always available on my website. I'll put a link for ordering online if you'd like below. And I hope you love it. Remember, this is book 4, so go back to the beginning. No cheating if you're just finding this one now. Happy reading, and I'll see you again next time. Head to my website, wordnerdopolis, at amandazieba.com. Once you get there, click on the bookstore to see all the books I've written and the places where you can purchase them. Thanks so much for stopping by my channel, Learning with the Word Nerd. Please like this video and subscribe, and I'll see you again next time.